Welcome to the all-new Sports Visions on Bounce TV and to our worldwide web viewers on www.sportsvisionusa.com. Hello, everybody. I'm DJ Jones alongside my good friend and traveling partner, Dale Williams. How are you, man?
What's up, player?
Man, I tell you, it's kind of a bittersweet moment because obviously this is championship weekend, and I know
right.
It seemed like just a few weeks ago we were talking about we couldn't wait to get the season kicked off, but here we are now at the tail end.
That's all you got to do, DJ. Kick the season off, and boom, you're at championship week. If you're not playing in championship game, you got you another week by. But really, it's going to be some great games.
Coming up in just a little bit, we'll have an opportunity to talk a little bit about these championships that are coming up, these championship games that are coming up, as well as, of course, the Atlanta Falcons still on fire. And we're just a matter of days away from our Columbus Valley Area High School Football Awards luncheon.
Great luncheon, DJ. Can't wait till it happens. You know, everybody's excited about it. And, again, we'll talk about how you can get some tickets.
All right, all that and more coming up next on Sports Visions.
Sports Visions presents the 9th Annual Columbus Valley Area High School Football Awards Luncheon, 11:30 a.m. at the St. Luke Ministry Center in Columbus, Georgia. The awards luncheon ceremony will acknowledge 25 of the area's top high school football head coaches, along with each of their best offensive and defensive players. The ceremony will be highlighted by the selection of the Valley area's best academic, offensive, defensive, special teams, coach, and middle school player of the year, as well as several community service awards. The guest speaker for this year's awards ceremony will be the University of Georgia Bulldogs head coach, Kirby Smart. For more information, contact DJ Jones at 706-681-1136 or Dale Williams at 706-681-5192.
Welcome back to Sports Visions. It's championship weekend, Dale, and I know we can't talk about championship weekend unless we talk about the champions. Alabama and Florida, of course, going to be at the SEC in the championship game. But we had the let's go back and just for the sake of doing it, let's recap the Iron Bowl because again, the Iron Bowl didn't turn out, I guess, as competitive as most people would have wanted to.
No, not competitive at all, DJ. Really, I think it was a great defensive game in the same sense. But from an offensive guy and I'm an Auburn guy, totally embarrassing.
Yes. I mean, you know what? But the good thing they got Petway back. I'm sure he was not 100%. And then they went back to what they started. Gus and his offensive coordinator, Rhett Lashley. They started playing musical chairs with the quarterback. They brought in, Jeremy Johnson. Then they brought in Franklin III. And then again, you just can't get. You can't get any chemistry with that.
Well, it kind of ended the season like they started the season, DJ.
Yeah.
They still don't know who the quarterback is, and and Alabama is not the team to play when you don't know who your quarterback is going to be. And we kind of came up with a remedy on how to beat Alabama. Of course, the Alabama fan will tell you only team that can beat Alabama is Alabama.
That's right.
And you can fall into that same thing. But I know one thing you can't do. You can't play Alabama scared, DJ.
You cannot.
And you gotta take what they give you, and you gotta be just as physical as they are. And I think if you're not up to the task, you're gonna get beat.
Before we start talking about the championship games, we do definitely have to go ahead and recap the Georgia Tech game, a game that is for the Georgia State Championship, and for the first time in a long time. Congratulations to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They are the Georgia State champions.
Well, the biggest thing about Georgia Tech, they play better when they go to Athens. And, really, that's are the things that a rivalry are made of. You win when you don't supposed to win. You win on the other team's field. And, they've done that the last couple of times they've been down there. But at the same time, DJ, it's kind of showed me from a Georgia standpoint, we are in dire needs of an offensive coordinator, of play calling, Defensively, I think they did a great job of making the adjustments to the option. Because really, one thing about Paul Johnson, you can say what he wants to, but he's going to find a way to make that little tweak, that little adjustment in his option that is going to make Georgia Tech really run on their defense, on their offensive side. But their running game, it was kind of flipped. Georgia held the ball 40 minutes, DJ. 40 minutes, and that's usually what the Tech usually does. But they played good enough to win, but they made mistakes.
Well, I was very impressed with Georgia Tech's offense, as I always have been, because, again, not only from a standpoint of them rushing the football, but the passing game offered the same looks. Again, it is hard to play. You and I both know we played against many option teams. Again, somebody has to take the dive, somebody has to take the quarterback, and somebody has to take the pitch, regardless of what you think you might see.
Thank you.
That's what you have to do. You have to be disciplined. And, of course, like always, somebody's going to be undisciplined, and Georgia Tech got big chunks of yardage, and again, both in the passing game and in the in the rushing game. However, again, Georgia, I think that, got a lot of work to do. Glad that they make it to the bowl game. They need those 15 extra practices so that they can continue to give those young guys work and Kirby can continue to implement his culture and his system into this Georgia program.
And, it's very well needed, DJ. Basically, development of younger players. You got, 15 days to kind of practice, and really at the same time, you got to find out what you got left.
Mm-hmm.
How can we improve? How can we get better? Because that freshman, he's not a freshman anymore.
Right.
He's a sophomore. I think they have a good freshman class, DJ. I think they have a great junior class if they can keep some of those guys from going to the NFL. But I think really Kirby knows what he needs to do. I think really he's going to recruit hard, and we'll be able to see about that here real quick, how many 5-star players he can get, 3-star players. We just need some players.
Let's talk a little bit about these championship games. Again, we know that the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Florida Gators are going to go head-to-head in the Georgia Dome, and it's coming just as sure as you wake up in the morning. And I know that the Crimson Tide is going to take a special effort from Florida if they're even able to stay in the same building.
Well, basically Alabama has made the Georgia Dome their extra home field.
Mm-hmm.
They've been to the Georgia Dome the last few years, year after year after year. It's going to be an interesting game for the 25th SEC championship game, and it's great and it's apropos that Florida is playing. That's who played in the first one. Georgia and Florida played in that one. And I hope we have a decent and a good, tight SEC championship game. And really, it's going to be interesting, DJ.
The ACC championship game is also going to be played, and we know that Clemson is obviously one of the favorites, and again, but that's you got to pay attention to that game as well.
You got to watch that game too. Clemson against Virginia Tech down in Orlando. Clemson has really not played up to their expectations this year, even though they lost one game. People think that they can play better, and I think really this year they have played up to their opponent. If you're a sorry team, they played sorry. So really losing to Pittsburgh, didn't see that coming. But at the same time, DJ, I am hoping for a Alabama-Clemson playoff game.
You see something there.
Yeah.
Hey, the Big Ten playoff games, of course, the championship game, obviously nobody thought that, Michigan would be in it or Ohio State wouldn't be in it. But guess what? Penn State and Wisconsin playing for the Big Ten championship.
That's funny. But you know what's real big, DJ? That James Franklin piece at Penn State,
Yes, it is.
He has not gotten the credit for turning that Penn State program around after the Joe Paterno disaster and all what's going on. He has done a great job up at Penn State. And really right now, they're sitting in the back door waiting to jump at 4. So it's going to be a lot of things going on, Penn State, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's going to slip in there on you, DJ, in that top 4. But it's going to be interesting, but it's going to boil down to that Pac-12 championship with Washington and Colorado.
That's going to be interesting. But all in all, just championship games all across the board. But the bottom line is who will be the Final Four for the playoffs?
That's going to be big. Got Alabama 1.
We know that for sure.
I got Ohio State 2. Watch this, DJ. I got Wisconsin 3. The winner of the Wisconsin-Penn State game, I got 3.
2 Big Ten teams.
That's right. I got 2, and believe it or not, I do. And I got Clemson at 4 because it's going to be a tight game, and I want to see Alabama and Clemson play.
I want to see them play in the final game, so I'm hoping that that's rearranged a little bit so they won't get matched up.
Well, we're going to see who the bad is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our Chick-fil-A Picks of the Week.
All right, our Chick-fil-A Picks of the Week. We got Alabama against Florida in the SEC Championship game. Clemson against Virginia Tech in Orlando. Wisconsin against Penn State, Big Ten Championship game. Washington against Colorado in the Pac-12 Championship game. Louisiana Tech against Western Kentucky in Conference USA Championship. Temple against Navy in the American Conference Championship. And DJ, we got Alcorn State against Grambling in the SWAC Championship.
It's time to save during the Nissan Year of the Truck and SUV event at Headquarter Nissan. Now, save $4,500 on new Rogue. Save $10,000 on all remaining 2016 Nissan Titan XDs. And get America's best truck warranty. Take on any job with Nissan trucks and SUVs from Headquarter Nissan.
Yes, Columbus is a Nissan town. Now it's going to be a Titan town. $10,000 off 2016 Titans.
When I decided to write a ton of world-famous music after I'd lost my hearing, people thought I was crazy. Just like the other day when I wanted chicken for breakfast. People thought I was crazy again. How'd everything play out? Let me tell you about it. I'll bet you $10 that you have heard the tune I'm singing now, because I went on to be the best composer of all time. Then I went down to Chick-fil-A and ordered their brand new egg white grill. The whole thing was 300 calories and seriously the best thing I've ever had. So to recap, I'm the best composer ever in the entire world. And Chick-fil-A's new egg white grill is really, 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 really good.
Chicken for breakfast. It's not as crazy as you'd think. Try the new egg white grill from Chick-fil-A.
And welcome back to Sports Visions. It's time now for our Atlanta Falcons report. And again, the Falcons came off of an off week, and man, I tell you what, they had the legs up under them, and then again, continue to do the things that we know that they're capable of doing, and that's winning.
You know, DJ, it's good to see them coming off the bye week, you know, hitting on all cylinders, you know, fresh legs. You know, one of the things that I was concerned about, excuse me, were they going to be clicking when they got, and they really clicked. You know, a 38-19 win against a good Arizona Cardinal team. I think they did good, but really the thing that I really liked about the whole deal, they unveiled a new weapon in the Taylor Gabriel piece.
Taylor Gabriel is explosive, and you know what? Guess what? Go figure. The Cleveland Browns had this young man on their roster last year, and again, you know, to have a guy that is that explosive, and for Cleveland to be in the position that they're in, for them to release it, go figure. I see why, you know, they haven't won a game.
I mean, really, man, it's just amazing, and it might have saved your boy Dimitroff's job too, because to find players like that. And they got a good core of receivers. I like the, you know, in the Sanu piece, 8 receptions last week, you know. But the Taylor Gabriel piece, I mean, DJ, speed on top of speed, 2 receptions, 75 yards, and a 30-yard rushing end around. So when you got those kind of deals, because really, I'm kind of glad that all the pressure is off of Julio. And I think, you know, for the mistakes that he's made, the tip balls and all them dropping balls and stuff, I think really that's going to play big dividends for the Falcons down the road to get all these guys some development and some experience.
Well, Julio's a beast, and don't make no bones about it. Yeah, he had a couple of errors, but the bottom line is we know that the concentration of the opposing team's defenses are all about stopping Julio. And I'm so happy after a number of years, we finally found some weapons that can take advantage of the mismatches on the other side, because when you're going and doubling and tripling Julio and you're going straight up man on these guys on the other side, it makes no sense for somebody to not have a Pro Bowl type year. And again, with those performances that we're getting out of Sanu, and again, Gabriel, it's outstanding. But it's a lot more football to be played, and I hope that they can continue to produce. And again, a dynamic duo in the backfield, man. I'm glad to see them back together. And Matt Ryan, he still remains at the top of the charts as far as the NFL.
Well, you know, he does, DJ, but they got to do a little bit more improvement on protecting them and keeping them clean, because there was a couple of series where the Cardinals just let them have it and maybe sacked them three times in one possession. So I think one of the biggest things, just keep them clean, DJ, keep them healthy, let them continue to distribute the ball around to all the playmakers. Really, the Tevin Coleman piece, the fresh legs on this guy, getting him the ball in space, Devontae Freeman. I mean, they got weapons. And one thing that I'm really glad about, the way they play defense. Seemed like they turned up a little bit when they got the lead, and that's something that they didn't do in the first half.
Well, to the credit of the Atlanta Falcons offensive line, because again, you know, our homeboy Brenson Buckner is the defensive line coach out there, and you know, they have one of the toughest defensive fronts in all of the NFL. And you know, I think it was admirable that we were able to keep Matt clean to a certain extent, but at the same time, you were going up against one of the very best defensive fronts in all of football. But you know, again, don't get it twisted. The Falcons beat a good team, and they're going to continue to do this, and that's what it's going to take. And again, those kinds of games are what's going to help them when they get down toward the end of the season and into the playoffs.
And this game coming up this week against the Kansas City Chiefs is another game that they have to win, the kind of game they have to win to get ready for the playoffs. Again, because the Kansas City Chiefs just coming off a win, overtime win against the Denver Broncos. That's big. They still got a good team, and the Falcons got to be ready to play these guys. And like I said, winning the first 2 games after the break and closing out the season with 2 wins, those are going to be very important.
A couple of big names that are coming into town on behalf of the Kansas City Chiefs by way of some Georgia roots. Of course, Justin Houston, one of the top sack masters in the NFL. Of course, 3 sacks in his first game back last week. And a kid that you don't know this, and I hope I don't butcher his name up too bad. He's from Central High School. His name is Rakeem Reyes. I'm not going to say his middle name. He has a name between that, but just leave it at Rakeem Reyes from Central High School by way of Southern Miss. He has just moved into the starting defensive lineup on the line.
Yeah.
Had an impressive game last week, a couple of hurries, but it's going to be nice to see a couple of homeboys.
Yeah, he's a baller player. I mean, really, just to see the kids from around here and just with Georgia roots and Phoenix City roots, this kid is a good defensive lineman. I saw him play in the Justin Houston piece. I mean, hey, DJ, he's only been back 2 games from an injury, and he's playing out of his mind.
Ramik Wilson is also a linebacker in that lineup. He came
right.
from the University of Georgia. So you know what? Kansas City is very, very familiar with University of Georgia players, and they for the past 10 years, I know they've kept some Georgia players in their lineup.
Yeah, the Conley kid too.
Exactly, Chris Conley.
Yeah, Chris Conley. That piece is good. But like I said, DJ, it's going to be an interesting game, and really shout out once again to Brenson Butler. Brenson Butler is about this close, DJ, from being a head coach.
All right, I hope you're right about that.
Watch out.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our Crown Royal picks of the week.
All right, our Crown Royal picks of the week. We got the Falcons hosting the Chiefs at the Georgia Dome. We got the Lions traveling to New Orleans to play the Saints. The Houston Texans will play the Green Bay Packers. The Eagles will play the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bills will travel to Oakland to play the Raiders. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will travel to San Diego to play the Chargers. And the Panthers will host the Seattle Seahawks. Don't forget to email Dale Williams at sportsvisionusa.com for your picks.
Dedicado al chofer designado, sigue reinando.
Why do we have Aflac?
Aflac.
And Major Medical?
Major Medical boy, yeah! I help pay the doctor. Ain't that enough for you?
There are things Major Medical doesn't do.
Aflac.
Pays cash so we don't have to fret.
Something families should get.
Like a safety net.
Even helps pay deductibles to cover your back with.
Learn about one-day pay at aflac.com/wrap.
Welcome back to Sports Visions. It's now time for us to do something that we hadn't done in quite a while. We do a lot of it off the camera, in the car, and of course in our leisure, but we wanted to give you an opportunity to witness some of the excitement that goes on behind the scenes with Dale and I when it pertains to our football career.
That's right.
As you well know, Dale had a decorated career at Hardaway High School. I also went to Carver High School. Now, Dale often mentions that I was a blue chip athlete or recruit, and he was a blue collar athlete. I'll give you an opportunity to go ahead and shoot your guns on explaining what you mean by blue chip.
A blue chip athlete is, of course, you ranked well, you made all-state, you highly decorated. Whereas I was a blue collar person. Nobody knew me, and people, Frank Beamer, what's this guy name? I forget his name. Florida State, Mickey Andrews. These guys.
Bobby Ross.
These guys came to see other players play, but they liked what they saw with me. So basically, nobody knew about me in Columbus, but everybody knew about you. And that's what my definition of a blue collar, a blue chip player, is a player that's highly decorated. The 5-star player now, you will call. From walk-on to scholarship, some people have to work for their stuff. All these kids that say they 5-star and all these scouting combines that say they 5-star and they highly decorated, that doesn't make them a player. What you are after you get through, that what makes you a player.
Now, my side of this to say that you shouldn't have been a blue-collar player because you chose to go to Hardaway High School. I went to Carver. Let's talk X's and O's, apples and oranges. Weight room, booster club, winning record. No. Let me finish.
Yeah, finish.
All of this is what you chose to do, and you were a part of that.
Right.
You were a 2-year starter. Right. Now, what that meant, you were on a good team that should have been, the scouts should have been looking at you. They were at the games, the teams that you played, the Warner Robins of the world. You guys competed, almost beat them. Versus the blue chipper at Carver High School, a game. Now, again, many of you don't know this, but I didn't win 10 football games in my entire high school career. However, at a school without a weight room, barely enough uniforms to dress out 35 players, no weight room, no resources. But again, the scouts, regardless of, and we played basically in the same era, they came to see other players play. However, by the recommendations of not only my coaches, but other coaches and, of course, other people in their system, they said, hey, look at that Jones kid over Carver. They might be getting beat by 4 or 5 touchdowns. But that's, again, blue chip, I was recognized and I was mentioned in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution with the top players and all. But, again, I got there a different way. It wasn't because the newspapers in Atlanta decided that I'm all of a sudden this blue chip athlete. I had to have gotten the recommendations from the other coaches that we played against because they beat the brakes off of us, but I still was able to do my thing.
Well, the bottom line is this, DJ, whether you go to Carver, whether you go to Hardaway, one of the biggest things, the funding piece, they had booster clubs and all that, but there was no weight room. I didn't start lifting weights, I went to Georgia. So that piece right there, and really hats off to all the coaches around here that do a lot of things when they're under budget and they don't have the money. But one thing that I would always say about Carver always had players. Even when they weren't recognized as a football school, Carver always had players. Talent is very, me staying behind Carver and going to Hardaway, that was a choice that I had to make when they had a coach at Carver that told me I was too little to play.
Coach Sanders told you were too little to play?
Yeah, Pete Sanders told me that. The late Pete Sanders told me, you're too little to play. And, of course, my whole thing, my mindset, I don't care what it is, I can play. I can ball. That didn't stop me. It pushed me over to Hardaway. But at the same time, the coaching, the talent level, Hardaway always had talent. But coaching is so big and so important now, DJ, that it makes a kid a 5-star player, or you're going to be a blue label guy. So it really doesn't really matter where you go, it's what you do.
In closing out this segment, I do want to give a lot of credit to Wallace Davis, who was my mentor and coach. He was there. We got there the same time at my freshman year, and he had an opportunity to come over from Hardaway and his first head coaching job. And those players that you were talking about, they weren't there doing 76, 77, 78, and 79 when I was there. Obviously, he accumulated that program, and he stripped it down and built it back up because, again, Coach Davis, when you talk about what these guys do now by putting kids in the car and getting on the road and going to camps, filling out the questionnaires from the colleges, going beyond the call of duty, telling you to do all the things you need to do to set yourself up for success. He hadn't got enough credit. And I know not only the guys that he coached at Carver, but I'm sure that you heard that from kids at other schools as well.
Well, I've always said about Coach Davis, he's an original, and I give him more respect for that, for putting a kid in the car and speaking for the kid that's not in the room when somebody's coming in here to try to recruit. I always give him credit for that piece right there because really as a coach, you got to have somebody in the room speaking for you, DJ.
No doubt.
Whether it's your father, whether it's a high school coach, whether you're junior high school coach, somebody got to speak for you, player.
All right. Well, blue collar, blue chip, you make the choice.
Hey, Steve, check out this guy's leg.
Yeah, looks like a real nasty moving back in with his parents.
What? No, I just broke my leg.
No, this is a full-blown move into the basement. You're going to be out of work. Without that money from Aflac, you might miss your rent.
Oh, I just moved out.
Bummer, man. Hey, I used to have my own place.
Yeah?
Nah, I live with my mom. But it's cool.
Health can change, but the life you love doesn't have to. Keep your lifestyle healthy with
Aflac.
Sports Visions presents the 9th Annual Columbus Valley Area High School Football Awards Luncheon, 11:30 a.m. at the St. Luke Ministry Center in Columbus, Georgia. The awards luncheon ceremony will acknowledge 25 of the area's top high school football head coaches, along with each of their best offensive and defensive players. The ceremony will be highlighted by the selection of the Valley area's best academic, offensive, defensive, special teams, coach, and middle school player of the year, as well as several community service awards. The guest speaker for this year's awards ceremony will be the University of Georgia Bulldogs head coach, Kirby Smart. For more information, contact DJ Jones at 706-681-1136 or Dale Williams at 706-681-5192.
And welcome back to today's final segment of Sports Visions. I enjoyed, of course, sharing with the folks out there. Maybe they know a little bit more about us now.
They know a little bit more about it. You know, they know, but we grew up playing ball. You know, and again, the Carver area, that whole area over there, it is a slew of talent still over in that area.
Absolutely. Also, we want to let you know, again, like we mentioned, football all day long, championship Saturday. You know, looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it, DJ. Great games, and really, I'm looking forward to talking about the top 4 teams in college football next week.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, with the Hawks report, you know, there's no need to give a Hawks report. The Hawks been steady. They've been playing pretty well and went out on the West Coast and ran up against the big bad Warriors, which
right.
brought us back to realize that we're not quite where we need to be to compete for a championship.
And, you know, when they go out west, man, that is a hellacious road trip, DJ. And, you know, for them getting tired, a night in and night out from Sacramento to Golden State, I mean, then going back to Atlanta, they played a lot of games out there, and they probably tired.
Last but not least, an almost packed room, man. Still a few options to come to our Columbus Valley area high school football luncheon, and I know that, you know what, Dale, we have been going through logistics and going through seating charts and contacting coaches and getting awards and preparing a menu. Man, this work never stops, but we love it.
We love it, DJ, and the thing about it, one thing about us, and we'll never argue about this, we know how to prepare.
Yes.
And when you're prepared, things don't go well for you. And we've been setting up different scenarios and everything, but at the same time, the place is going to be packed, DJ.
Hey, let me tell you this now. Again, if you really, really want to come, we're only a few days out. You better contact me at 706-681-1136 or Dale 706-681-5192. That's the only way that you're gonna, if we have any space available. That's come on as a first served basis.
That's right, DJ. And really, I'm gonna go ahead and apologize right now. Some folks out of this forgot. Just charge it to my head and not my heart.
Absolutely.
You can go and give me my cussing out right now, because we got to get it done, and we're trying to get everybody we can get in. And thanks to the folks at St. Luke, they do a great job.
Absolutely. Hey, that's gonna do it for all the sports we have for today. For Dale Williams, I'm DJ Jones, reminding you to keep your eye on the ball. Have a great week.
Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you.